the conversation gets a little bit heated here and it goes on for a very long time, on 19-year-olds versus 25-year-olds, and some comments that Tate has made in the past. This gets dissected. Piers seems to have taken particular offense to this. So let's talk about it.
I'm asking, you said this, in general, this is also one of the reasons men find youth attractive. You want to blow up the internet? I'll blow up the internet right effing now. The reason 18 and 19-year-olds are more attractive than 25-year-olds is because they've been through less dick. People say, oh, you can't say that, but yes, I can. A 19-year-old is more attractive than a 26-year-old woman, and I'll tell you why. Because that 26-year-old has talked to more guys, been to the club more times, been effed and dumped more times, more arguments, more mess, more for me to clean up. That is misogyny.
Why?
Because you are encouraging a mindset about 25-year-old women that makes them sound out to be infinitely less desirable than 18, 19-year-olds, and having effectively been having too much sex to be taken in a more respectful way.
Well, firstly, even if that was the case, that wouldn't be misogyny.
But what did you mean by what you said?
That's not misogyny because it's not anti-women. I'm saying that an 18 or a 19-year-old woman would be more desirable.
Pretty anti-25-year-old woman.
Anti-25-year-old women we can argue, but not misogyny.
Well, that's misogyny then, isn't it?
No, it's not.
Well, being anti any woman at all is misogyny.
No.
So again, I love these words that get misogyny that get thrown out. So let's just get a definition of misogyny. Misogyny, dislike of, contempt for, or ingrained prejudice against women. Okay, so what he said is not misogyny. Now, he fell into a little bit of a trap there because Piers Morgan is doing what cable news anchors do all the time. And I will remind you that cable news and network TV segments often don't exist to have a conversation. They exist because for two reasons. Either they want you backed into a corner so that people hate you, or they want light to shine on you like you're the second coming so that people will love you. Okay, it's not about a give and take. That's not why the medium exists. That's not how they make their money either, having worked in it for quite a bit of time. So that's not misogyny, what he's saying. So let's talk about this has been a huge issue, this comment that Andrew Tate made about 19-year-olds versus 25 or 26-year-olds. Now, this is not going to apply to every case, right? I've been very open about my past. At 25, I think I had two partners. So maybe that wouldn't have applied to me. I would be an outlier in that case. But odds are, if you're being honest with yourself as a human being out in the world, odds are, in the majority of cases, a 25 or 26-year-old woman will have had more sexual experiences than a 19-year-old in general, just by virtue of being alive more. Not every case, not every person, but they've been alive more. So odds are they've had more sex. Odds are they've been with more men. Odds are they've had more heartbreak. Odds are they've had more letdowns, because relationships, as we all know, sometimes can suck. There's ups and downs in that universe. So what he's saying is largely accurate. Now, why is that less appealing to a man? Well, isn't this obvious? This is obvious. First of all, I think, it is just a reality that men do appreciate a woman who's been more selective with her body, because that sends a message that you respect yourself, that you care about your body. You have, my body is my temple type of attitude. That is more appealing to guys. I don't care if you like it or not. That is the truth. So who cares? It's the truth. Great. Okay. Reality. Also, when you've been through heartbreak, let's just acknowledge every single one of us has been through a bad relationship, been through heartbreak. The more times you experience that, the more of a dent it puts in you to be able to do your next relationship, right? Think about yourself. If you've had one bad relationship, you come back, you're like, all right, I'm back. Have that happen 4 or 5 times, and now you're more distrustful of men. You have some bad things that have been said and done for you. You have a little bit of scarring. You have some bruising. That may not be your fault at all, but it is a reality. So that next guy that comes into the scene has to face a few obstacles that he may not have had if you hadn't been treated badly in former relationships, or had things go down badly, or something happened. This is just factual information. So you can say that the way that he said it rubs you wrong, or you don't like his delivery. Fine, who cares? But the reality is that women who have been less promiscuous, who have dated less guys, who have been more selective, and who have less damage as a result of failed relationships are going to be more appealing. Now, Does this offend someone who's sitting there and 25 years old and had a very promiscuous years before that and slept with a bunch of guys and, is damaged, so now has a little bit of man hatred? Sure. Who cares? Who cares? It's his opinion. And guess what? That doesn't mean that 25-year-old isn't going to find love or isn't going to find happiness. And maybe we'll find a guy who doesn't care at all. This is one man's opinion. Why are you so affected by it? Is he not allowed to have his opinion? Honestly, what a nation of babies. What a bunch of babies that can't just listen to this guy have an opinion anymore without losing their minds. Also, some truths are not easy to swallow. They're not. They're not easy. I was talking this morning, I was on PBD podcast, we were talking about voting, and I said female voters tend to be emotional voters. They do. They do. That's why they were triggered by Trump. That's why they get triggered sometimes by these, hot button emotional issues. That's a reality. Now, I could choose to ignore that and not talk about how Democrat voters oftentimes target suburban moms because they utilize emotion, or I could be realistic and I can have that conversation and figure out what to do about it. So again, it's time for truth, right? A lot of what he's saying here too. Now, do I think he could have caveated that and said, well, not all 25-year-old women. Some 25-year-old women may be a virgin. Some 25-year-old women may have slept with one partner. They're going to be, they weren't promiscuous. They are selective. They don't have the damage, and they'll be very appealing and high value. Of course, he could have caveated that if that's more true to how he feels. But we're talking about little clips that exist on the internet. I don't know everything he said before that clip or everything he said after, but he's telling you now what he's got to say. So it's amazing to me that people get so unbelievably upset with somebody else's opinion. I mean, honestly, first world problems sometimes. Okay, let's go to 3024, Tyler.
You're jumping on me now.
Oh, am I?
That's okay.
What would you now say you don't believe?
I believe that 25-year-old women perhaps have had, because they've been alive longer, maybe have had more partners, but I don't believe that makes them a bad person.
Right. But you understand that the way you phrased it makes every 25-year-old
I understand.
feel a bad person.
No, I don't think so.
Of course you do. You're not stupid, Ad. Come on.
Piers.
Andrew, you're not stupid. You know what that sounds like to any 25, 26-year-old woman.
Completely. And you're
Right? So you have maligned every 25, 26-year-old woman with that statement. And I'm simply asking you, to all those who are not of the type of women that you've described here, are you sorry?
I don't want anybody to be offended by anything I say. I want to be a positive force in the world. I don't want anybody to hear what I say and make them feel bad about themselves. I want all people to live righteous and good, whether they're male or female.
Okay, so do you realize how ridiculous this is? This guy goes on a show. He's got to now apologize to all the 25-year-olds that may have been offended. Honestly, 25-year-old women, if you're offended, like, woman up, honestly. Woman up. Who cares what he thinks, honestly? Are you so fragile? Are you so fragile that this guy's opinion that you don't like somehow depletes you instantly? This is utterly ridiculous. Now, let's analyze the content of what was said. He's not saying that they're a bad person. He's saying that some aspects of their life may make them less desirable to men. I didn't hear bad person in there. I didn't hear any of that. In his opinion. In his opinion. Okay? And again, Piers Morgan's like, well, you've maligned 25. No, you haven't maligned. You know who's pissed at this clip? This original clip? I'm going to tell you straight up who's pissed. Who's pissed are, if you're a 26-year-old woman sitting at home, you were promiscuous, you slept around, you didn't really care about, who you did what with. You weren't saving yourself for anything. You went through a bunch of relationships, you stayed too long, you got some damage here and there, and now you've got some sort of complex that you don't trust men, or you heard this and you were like, he's talking about me, and you got offended. That's who got offended. Okay? You're entitled to get offended, but really? Really? Why not just say, hey, that same 25-year-old woman could be a grown-ass woman and say, okay, I made some choices that I wouldn't make again. And I'm not going to let my past relationships negatively impact me. And honestly, I don't buy what he's selling. I think I am high value, and go out there and you can go do what you want to do. You don't have to be, oh, he got prickly with me and now I'm going to cry about it. Oh. But can you imagine a host asking this guy to apologize? Apologize to, that's like being like, Jed, you got to apologize to all those Democrats that you hurt their feelings the other day. You could be waiting for that apology for a long time. It ain't going to come. Ridiculous. Everybody needs to get a backbone in life. Get a backbone. Understand not everybody's going to see the world the way that you do. Not everybody is going to handle you like a little overgrown baby. Take the pacifier out, take the diaper off, put some pull-ups on at least, have some self-respect, and realize there's going to be people in this world who see the world differently from you, and that's okay. Stand up for what you believe in, stand up for yourself, and be okay with dissent. We now live in a world where everyone's trying to squash the dissent. Oh, silence him, he made me feel bad. Grow up. Grow up, honestly. If you want to watch the full episode, you're going to click right here. And if you want to ask me a question one-on-one, you want to do a one-on-one FaceTime with a group of your friends, whatever you want, you need to download Minnect right now. Click right here and let's get talking.